This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. Time to chat some hockey.
Shot score! North Dakota wins!
The best college hockey writer in the country is on deck.
North Dakota, champions of the college hockey world.
Here's Brad Schlossman.
Schloss will join us here momentarily. He's got tied up at a doctor's appointment here, so he'll be with us momentarily, he'll tell me here. UND back home this weekend as they'll take on BU after a road split last week against MSU Mankato. I know Schloss tweeted out earlier this week the matchups for the next three series that UND has. They're going to see number 1, Denver. Number 3, which is BU, and they still have number 8 coming up here. I do appreciate the fact that in college hockey, and I get it, there's way fewer teams than football or basketball, but they match up as frequently as they do, especially in the non-conference. BU has always been a traditional hockey powerhouse. They went out there last year, did UND, got a split out there. We remember with Jack Eichel that I was there for it. UND played BU in 2015 in Boston at the Frozen Four, of all things. That was insanity out there for how he was going to win the Hobey Baker, which he did. Goes to obviously the best player in college hockey. Well on his way to being a top NHL draft pick, which he was. Now he's won a Stanley Cup, which he won with Vegas a couple years ago. And how frenzy it was there. You talk about the passion of fans for certain programs. We see it here with Bison football, Grand Forks with UND hockey, with certain sports, right? And Boston has everything, right? They have all the major franchises. College football isn't a thing. College basketball really isn't a thing. I grew up, Boston College was actually pretty good in hoops, and that's not registered. Hockey, though, is. In that town, where you've got Harvard, you've got Northeastern, you've got Boston College, which they care about in hockey, and they got BU. And you don't mess around with that. There is that kind of fan base, and they've been always good. And they'll have a ton of guys that you'll see have a chance to be playing at the next level. Cole Iserman being one of them. Got 4 goals. Really good. That's the background for this series that begins coming up later tonight. UND, you look at them so far this season. We made plenty of it of the loss to Augie. And we talked with Brad about it last week at how they looked against Augustana, that they practiced longer for the series before they played Mankato leading into last week. Certainly like it paid off there. They rallied and won last Friday night on the road, and then Mankato got them 3-rip last Saturday to split that series. And now facing a team, as you look here, the next stretch, home for BU, then on the road for back-to-back weekends as they're going to go to Cornell, lovely Ithaca, New York, in early November is fantastic, by the way. And then Duluth, and opening up league play. And then they have Denver. That's quite the intro to conference play. That's not easing in to your league schedule to have Duluth and Denver to start before they play a couple non-conference series right around Thanksgiving with Bobby Moe, Robert Morris coming here in Bemidji State before getting into December. But that's and we talked with Brad Barry. If you missed my conversation with Brad on the sit-down, what we did a few weeks ago, that's still available at inforum.com, about, we're stressing the regular season. Obviously, they want the Penrose Cup again, but not to have any tail off like they've had in past seasons where they have not been able to sustain that momentum when they got to the league tournament. And certainly when they got to the NCAA tournament, the years that they did get there, that they would have the issues and struggles there that they wouldn't be able to sustain and that kind of play that they had for 2 to 3 months, it trailed off. I don't think that's something that's completely unknown. Certainly, they've been trying to rectify that. We'll see. This is an interesting squad that they have this year, and there's no, I don't think, runaway teams anymore. Not in college hockey, it doesn't seem like, with the amount of talent. We talked about it with Brad last week, that it's how spread out it is across the sport, that the amount with the portal that has transformed that, and the amount of better teams just getting better. That to me has been the one thing when you watch the games now. And yeah, Denver's going to get high-end talent. UND's going to get high-end talent. The Gophers are going to have amount of guys that can go out there and dominate on certain nights. But it's not like, can't collect all of them. That to me is the one thing that has stood out when you're watching college hockey over the last couple of years on that. Enough for me about it. The man himself, who's you got MVP today, man, locked down. I appreciate you rushing on and joining us as Brad Schlossman joins us on a Friday morning. You are like a hockey player, right from the dentist chair on television, man. I appreciate that.
That's right.
BU, man. I was talking about this before you came on. I do appreciate in college hockey the willingness to schedule other big-time programs. I know there's only 60-some-odd schools, but there's no shying away of playing, certainly UND hasn't done that, of playing top-flight schools. That's I think, college basketball does it now, but it's certainly unique to hockey, I think.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great non-conference matchups really this season, and UND's right in the middle of it. This schedule is really tough. It's BU this week. It's Cornell next week, another top 10 team. Minnesota, Duluth. Then you get into conference play. They got Duluth and Denver. But yeah, to see a bunch of teams in non-conference play this year that are all competing for league titles is, it's great for the fans. Great entertainment.
Give us the lowdown of last week. Had a rally and win on Friday, lost on Saturday. How do you evaluate last weekend in Mankato?
Yeah, two very different games. I think UND felt it actually played better in the game it lost than the game it won. What really turned Friday's game was a major penalty. UND's down 2 goals. Minnesota State takes a major, and UND scores twice on it, and it's a tie game. And all of a sudden, it's a new game. UND goes and wins it. Then Saturday night, shot attempts were 74 to 44 UND in that game. Minnesota State blocked 34 of them.
Good Lord!
You will not often see in hockey a team block more shots than the goaltender does, but we saw that. Saturday. I don't even know the last time UND had 34 shots blocked in a regulation game. I mean, we could be going back a real long time for that. I went back to the to 2021 and didn't find anything. So, that what that tells you is credit to Minnesota State. They blocked a ton of shots, played very good game. B, UND probably needs to get into the middle of the ice a little bit more. That. If you're blocking that many, that means they're probably coming from the perimeter, and they're not grade A's. And, so they had a lot of zone time in that game. Now the goal is to turn that zone time into more grade A premium scoring chances.
With a team like BU, who I don't get to their skill, but which is crazy good, just that opportunity here. There's no, like I mentioned, no easing in here. With Mankato's really good. This team is, you mentioned what's coming, lying in wait. There's no real time to really sort things. I know because every game matters for the pairwise. I guess long-windedly I'm asking is, how are they treating this, knowing it's a non-conference, but there's no waiting around? You got to figure out what you got going here, I imagine, right?
Yeah, these are big games at the end of the season. These non-conference games are massive. So these are really big games. It's really interesting to me, too. This is going to be stylistically different than Minnesota State and Cornell, which sandwiches them. Minnesota State had 20 upperclassmen. They were a veteran team. They were a big team. They made it really tough to generate chances against them. BU is going to be more the high-flying, younger team. Like, it's a completely different style. They're more skilled, but they're not as old. So and then they're going to go back to Cornell, which is going to play a very defensive style against them next weekend. So they're seeing all sorts of different styles of teams, which, might be good at the end of the season. You're going, if North Dakota makes the NCAA tournament, they're going to be playing, who knows, but they've probably played a team like whoever they end up matching up against, because they're seeing all sorts of different teams.
All right. I know about Cole Iserman. I know hockey fans do. For ones they're going to tune in this weekend, give us the lowdown on how special a player this guy is.
Yeah, he's just a pure goal scorer, big-time goal scorer. He scored more goals than anyone at the USA Hockey's national team development program. So that means he had more than, the guys like Patrick Kane, was Kane at the NT? I can't even remember now.
You name it, though. I mean, that's
it's
amazing,
just
right?
A list of NHL superstars, and he scored more than any of them. So, the big key for North Dakota, don't let him shoot on the power play, especially. Like, he's probably going to get some chances, but you got to try to keep him from shooting the puck, because when he's able to load up, like, that's a special shot.
By the way, Kane, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, all those guys were number one. He scored more goals than all those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did he drop? You were at the draft. Why did he drop so far? He dropped, what, he got 20th, I think? Why did he drop?
Well, I think scouts, the scouting report I heard from scouts was that when he's shooting the puck, he's obviously extremely special. When he's not shooting the puck, he's not as elite as like a Celebrini.
Okay.
It's the other attributes in his game, the defensive aspects of his game, but he's still goes in the first round. But that's why he wasn't a top 10 pick. Top 5.
This series is special. I've been at 2 of the crazy games with BU. I was talking, Brad, about the game in Boston at the Frozen Four with the Eichel circus that was there that year, and playing in his hometown and playing UND at the Frozen Four. And then the game here in Fargo with the shattered glass and everything. These two teams have quite the history against one another.
They do, yeah, and they've even played for a national championship back in 1997. So they have a long history for teams that are across the country from each other. But sometimes teams like these end up finding each other in the postseason a lot. UND and BU have scheduled each other a couple times in non-conference over the years here too, so they have gotten some matchups in. But yeah, great series. But BU coach Jay Pandolfo said this week he's never been to Grand Forks.
Really?
So he said BU came here the year after he graduated. So he said this was number 1 on his list of places in college hockey he hasn't been that he wanted to go to. So this will be his first. He said, I've played games against UND, but never in Grand Forks.
By the way, I raised my hand when I saw Jay Pandolfo as the head coach. One of my oldest friends is a diehard Devils fan. He was tough, just a defensive forward that no one ever liked to play against. And now he's coaching at his alma mater.
Yeah, he was a key part of those Stanley Cup runs for the Devils back in the early 2000s. He was a great player.
God, he was just nasty to play against. So, how's he been as a coach, from what you can tell?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a change. With he came aboard just a couple of years ago, but recruiting wise, they've obviously done a great job getting a lot of top prospects. And UND is going to see a couple of them this weekend. They got the Hudsons and then Iserman. Tom Willander is a Swede. He went 11 overall in the draft 2 years ago. There's a kid named Sasha Bamedian. He's going to be a first rounder next year. So there's loads of talent. He's done a great job recruiting.
Following Jack Parker is not an easy gig. That's not. I don't care if you're an alma mater, you're an alum of the school. That's I don't know anybody wish that, right?
Yeah. I mean, they had Albie O'Connell briefly in the middle there, and he was the one who had that really difficult job, and it didn't last super long. And now all of a sudden it's Jay Pandolfo. He doesn't, he's had Frozen Four trips already now in his young tenure as head coach, and we'll see where this team goes.
You want to be the guy after the guy. You don't want to be the guy right. You know.
Exactly.
You want to be the buffer there.
Exactly.
He
played that well.
I don't want to give away all of your story here because it's fantastic that you posted this morning. Give us a little bit of the backstory on Jake Livenovic, how you found out about this, and just the struggle he has to go about just eating every day.
Yeah. Jake Livenovic, one of UND's best defensemen. He has a lot of food allergies, and I heard about it last year when he was a freshman. Figured I'd check in with him to see if he'd be open to talking about it, and he was. He's gone into shock before because he had one bite of an apple.
Wow.
His mom I said, how soon did he go into shock? And she said he didn't get a second bite. Like he was, it was pretty quick. There's a really long list, a lot of fruits, some vegetables, red meat. And so he has to be really, really careful on what he eats. And if he has any doubts, he just won't eat something. So it's a big challenge for him. And that's something you don't think about.
No, that's got to be quite the hurdles, even like a pregame meal. You can't go out and play hungry. I can't just the hurdles of that. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and he said, that the kitchen staff at Ralph Engelstad Arena is great, that they will, if they make something that they know he can't eat, they will have a separate little meal for him, and they'll put it in tinfoil off to the side. He has his own blender in the locker room for making smoothies. When they, order food on the road for road trips, they're careful to run through Jake's allergies. So, but yeah, he carries an EpiPen with him.
I bet. I got
just in case, he does go into shock.
Man.
Anaphylactic shock. So that's can't be an easy way to go about every day, but he said he's done it his whole life. He's used to it.
Yeah. He knows no other way, I have to imagine now. That's wild. Read that story. Check it out right now. GrandForksHerald.com. Brad did an awesome job with that. I appreciate your flexibility as always, bud. Thanks for the time, and enjoy the series this weekend. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Awesome. Will do. Thanks, Tom.
Brad Schlossman joining us each and every Friday at 10 a.m. UND and Boston University coming up tonight at 7 and then tomorrow at 6. It should be a raucous atmosphere up at the Ralph for a great series there with some high-end talent on each team. We're overdue for a break. We'll take one now. We got a couple emails to catch up on. And don't forget, we got NFL picks coming with a different member of the Izzo family today. Back on Hot Mic after this.